You know, people have been asking me for this video for like almost 6 years, and coming up, I'm finally doing it. This is my personal top 10 songs of all time. 10 songs that were pivotal in shaping and changing the life of this small town boy from Idaho. These are my personal favorite classic rock songs of all time. And there's a lot of great stories here. There's a story about a musical genius who collaborated with an unknown advertising guy that surprised rock fans in his own band and has the greatest harmonies ever. Then there's a story about a song that features one of the greatest instrumental performances of the rock era, and the guy was only paid $27 while the singer made millions. Plus a song that pulled me out of my deepest despair following devastating divorce that ultimately put me on a path to a life that I did not know existed. And a song that made me bust out of prison. This is my countdown of the top 10 personal, my favorite songs of all time on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies. I've never really done this on here. I've gotten a lot of requests for it. I always count down the hits, the greatest songs of a certain year, the greatest albums, but I have never given you my personal favorite songs of all time. The songs that shape me, that are sacred to me. There are songs that define me. So I figured, you know what the hell? Let's do it. It's my all-time countdown of my 10 personal favorite classic rock songs ever. All right, let's get into it. Making the list at number 10, I've got the late Jerry Rafferty's masterpiece, Baker Street.
Winding your way down on Baker Street.
Winding my way down to Baker Street. You know, I've never been to London, let alone that famous street that, Jerry Rafferty sings about, but he takes me there every time I listen to this amazing track. Street name, though, is not important. It's the state of mind that really makes the song so resonant for me.
Drink the night away and forget about everything.
Jerry wrote the song while taking residence at a friend's flat on Baker Street in London for months at a time, and he expressed the sense of being lost in the city desert, feeling disillusioned and burned out at this point in his career. I mean, I think many of us have been at this point in our lives. Some people can't pull out of the funk, but for me, Baker Street gives me the motivation to persevere.
When you wake up, it's a new morning.
Now, it was Jerry Rafferty at a very difficult time in his life. He was going through a lawsuit, and he was just kind of hiding out. I mean, by 1975, Steelers Will had split up, and former band members Jerry Rafferty and Joe Egan wanted to move forward with their respective solo careers. However, the contract that they had signed with A&M Records prohibited them from releasing any music for 3 years, a long 3 years. The dispute went to litigation, and it was finally resolved in 1978, and this cleared the path for City to City, Jerry Rafferty's debut solo album, and it ended up selling over 6 million copies around the world on the strength of Baker Street.
This city desert makes you feel so cold. It's got...
I mean, as perfect as the lyrics are to this masterpiece, the arrangement of Baker Street is equally as potent. That's what makes it so great. I mean, the guitar solo by Hugh Burns, it's incredible. I mean, inspired Slash's solo on Sweet Child of Mine that would happen a decade later. Of course, the improv sax work by Raphael Ravenscroft is arguably the best of all time. I mean, the soulfulness of the sax sections of Baker Street really added the emotional impact of the track. It projects a loneliness that words could never create. The fact that the original plan didn't include a sax at all, and that Raphael was even supposed to play on the track, it just adds to the serendipity of the song. Raphael executed the sax solo in just one take and was only paid the standard union rate of 27 pounds. An urban myth for years held that that check bounced. Some say that he had it framed to his wall. But this tale underscores the starkly unequal fortunes of the two men. I mean, Jerry Rafferty, he reportedly earned tens of millions in royalties from the song for decades, but Ravenscroft, meanwhile, leveraged his sudden fame into a thriving career as a sought-after session musician working with everybody from Pink Floyd to Marvin Gaye and Tina Turner. So even though he wasn't paid what he really deserved, Raphael's work on Baker Street elevated his career to whole new levels. Many say Raphael created the solo, but a demo tape before he was involved showed that Rafferty had it already. I mean, in just a few notes, Baker Street can convey so many emotions. Fear. loathing, regret, desolation, as well as hope and faith that things will get better. Considering the challenges that Jerry overcame to release his solo material and write this song and gift it to the masses, it would have been so poetic for Baker Street to not only be a #1 hit, but to win every award given that year. But I had to settle for the bridesmaid position. It's just one of those masterpieces that's so deserving, it deserves so much more.
But you know you'll always keep moving.
But you know, decades later, this song stands alone as a timeless triumph of the human spirit. It's far outlasted the acclaim of the #1 songs from the 70s, including Shadow Dancing, that kept it from the top spot.
Taking me through the night, shadow dancing.
It's both a sonic and lyrical triumph that will continue to captivate for generations to come. Now, my favorite lyric is the last verse and chorus. He's got this dream about buying some land. He's going to give up the booze and the one-night stands, and then he'll settle down in some quiet little town and forget about everything.
Some quiet little town and forget about everything.
You know, he's never going to stop moving because he's rolling. He's a rolling stone. When you wake up, it's a new morning. The sun is shining. It's a new morning. You're going home. Ah, I love it.
He's rolling, he's the rolling stone.
Thank you so much to Jerry for his uncompromising and legendary composition. Baker Street is one of my 10 favorites, and it set a record in 1978 for the most consecutive weeks at the #2 spot. It would be later be broken by Foreigner, but what an incredible song.
You're going home.
All right, at #9 on my top 10 personal favorites, I have sacred song, God Only Knows by the Beach Boys.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
God Only Knows, of course, written by musical genius, the late Brian Wilson and Tony Asher for the 1966 album Pet Sounds, my favorite album of all time. It grew out of a curious convergence. The Beatles' Rubber Soul, there was timeless jazz standards like Stella by Starlight, and Wilson's intimate, evolving portrait of his wife, Marilyn.
So what good would living do me?
I mean, the song probes the quiet gravity of love, its dependence, its universal appeal, while courting risk with the bold choice to invoke the divine in a pop song title. It's hailed as one of the great feats of songwriting. I mean, its intricate arrangements, quiet revolution for what a pop tune could be. It's a pocket symphony. Tony Asher's affection for classic pop and jazz standards seeped into the song's harmonies and textures for sure, helping to elevate its emotional architecture. I mean, for me, God Only Knows feels so personal. One of my top 10 favorites that echoes the way love reshapes life. Reminds me of my wife and my kids and the journey to a love grand enough to redefine what family and devotion can mean.
I'll make you so sure about it.
Whenever I hear the song, my wife and my children always pop into my head, as does its late great composer, Brian Wilson, one of my all-time musical heroes. Brian Wilson and Tony Asher were a surprisingly unlikely pairing, though. I mean, Brian, the frontman of one of the world's most famous bands, and Tony Asher, he was then an unknown commercial jingle writer and advertising guy. They first crossed paths at a Los Angeles recording studio when Asher was working on an advertising jingle, and Wilson played him some of his demos. A mutual acquaintance named Lauren Schwartz knew Asher and suggested he might be a lyricist who could help Brian Wilson to bring Pet Sounds to life. Brian Wilson told me that he and Asher knocked out the song in surprisingly little time.
If you should ever leave me.
I think it's the most spiritual pop song ever written. That's how I feel. I'll argue until the cows come home. I mean, when I first heard it, the track blew me away with its lush and attentive arrangement, weaving in French horns and harpsichord, which was pretty ahead of its time for pop music. I know the title gave the label pause. God Only Knows. Even Brian Wilson was a little worried about it, worried it might keep radio stations from playing it. And that's exactly why it wasn't a huge hit, why it wasn't #1 or even a top 20 hit. Stations refused to play it for saying God in the title. And it still surprises fans that Brian chose his younger brother Carl to sing the lead. He was drawn by the tenderness in his brother's voice. It was an inspired choice for sure, showing that it was never about ego with Brian Wilson, ever. He just simply had a deep, genuine love for something sincere and pure. It's one of the qualities that made him one of the true geniuses of the rock era. It's fascinating how someone can write song lyrics that resonate so perfectly with your own life situation. I'm sure all of you feel the same way. God only knows what I would be without my wife and my kids. And the fact that I got a chance to tell my hero what I thought of this song, that I thought it was the most spiritual pop song ever written. Most spiritual song ever written.
I agree. I have to agree with you on that.
Spirituality has played such a huge
Right.
part in your music.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Spirituality? Well, I believe that God is music, you know? So when you make music, that's God talking to you.
And if you haven't heard the a cappella version of just the Beach Boys singing the final parts, it's the most perfect vocal ever recorded, vocals. All right, number 8 on my personal top 10, I've got Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by the Police. Like most of my favorite songs, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic might as well be an ode to my wife. It reminds me of how smitten I was by her when I first met her, and man, how hard I worked to win her over. I really enjoyed talking to Sting about how this song was created because it was the same thing for him. He wrote it to woo a woman that he was smitten with, and a decade later, he finally married her. Here's what he told me.
I wrote that in a little basement in Bayswater, and 3 doors down, there was this very pretty blonde girl with green eyes, and I sort of took a fancy to her, and I didn't have the nerve to talk to her for about 2 years. I'm now married to that woman.
So that line was really about her.
Oh, yeah. Boy, does she know it.
Now, as the second single released from the Ghost of the Machine album, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic was an international smash for the Police. It went to number 1 in the UK and also on the mainstream rock chart in America. On the Billboard Hot 100, it had to settle for number 3. It should have been a number 1 hit. This all happened in 82. My favorite lyric happens in the bridge. I resolved to call her up 1,000 times a day and ask her if she'll marry me some old-fashioned way.
Ask her if she'll marry me some old-fashioned way.
But my silent fears have gripped me long before I reach the phone, long before my tongue has tripped me. Must I always be alone? Just poetry, jukebox poetry. And that's 60 seconds at the end, the closing part of it. It's the Police at their best. All right, at number 7 on my top 10 personal favorites, I've got 10 Years Gone by Led Zeppelin. For me, Led Zeppelin's 10 Years Gone stands out as an epic track for a mix of musical ambition, emotional subject matter, and production innovation. It's on my list because it represents the grand, expansive art of rock music.
Blind skies of fortune.
Between the 6 and 7 minute mark, the song unfolds in a multi-part journey rather than a flat verse chorus loop. The song moves through intimate, almost folk-like moments. There's hard rock punch, and there's also extended instrumental exploration. The shifts in intensity from quiet, reflective verses to soaring, muscular choruses and that climactic guitar duel, it gives it a cinematic art that few other songs could ever possess. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The entire grunge movement owes so much to this song. It invented grunge, many decades before it was anything. Pearl Jam, Nirvana, all these guys took from it. Robert Plant's lyrics reflect on time, change, and looking back from a future vantage point. Themes that feel weighty and expansive. The sense of reflection on a life and era adds to this epic mood, even as the music moves through different textures. produced by Jimmy Page with a big room feel of physical graffiti. 10 Years Gone uses the album's spacious evidence of live production style. Reverb, layering, and careful panning create a sense of vastness in this thing. I mean, the balance between intimate acoustic inflected moments and wide electric swells, it contributes to the epic listening experience of this thing, as if the sound itself is moving through space. It's one of my favorite songs to listen to in headphones because of all of the production elements, and the song that I would choose to present if someone wanted to, me to give them an example of what made Zeppelin one of the greatest bands of all time. This would be the song. If you don't love this song, you probably don't have a soul or ears, and that's just the way it is. Now, this countdown for me, it's as personal as it gets. I mean, it's the countdown of my top 10 favorite songs that make me who I am. And at number 6, I've got a song that makes me think about my dad. Dreams by Van Halen. I'll tell you why I think about my dad in just a second, but Dreams by Van Halen is not only one of my 10 favorites. Sammy Hagar picked it as his favorite as the lead singer of Van Halen. Dreams has inspired me so much to do whatever I wanted to do in my life. It just taught me that nothing is beyond your dreams. But I also appreciate Dreams because it epitomizes what Sammy brought to Van Halen when he replaced David Lee Roth. The Sammy Hagar era gave Van Halen the opportunity to stretch in ways that I don't think they could have with DLR. I know I'll get some hate for that, but some of what they achieved with Sammy revealed more facets of different musical styles and allowed them to explore broader territory. I mean, even Eddie's guitar playing found a larger, more expansive landscape. It's just the truth. I loved this song as a kid, and my dad, who'd raised me on all that great music, he was always the teacher for me. He was the one showing me all the great music, from Zeppelin to the Beatles to CCR and everything else. When I heard this song, it was my music, though. It wasn't my dad's, it was mine. I wanted to share it with him. Well, I had a chance to share the story of that with Sammy himself in a live event that we've never released this before publicly. I want to show you that moment. I was with my dad, and I was raised on the right music from my dad. I understood his music, but he didn't really have an understanding of my music. So we were driving along one day, and I kind of sheepishly asked, "Hey, Dad, can I play my new tape?" And he goes, "All right." I put it in, and I had it right on Dreams, because I'm like, I wanted to win my dad over with my music, right? Because he'd won me over with his music. And he played it, and I watched him, and I was just hoping, And it was, when it was over, he just went, "Wow, that was a great song. They don't make them like that anymore." And it was this understanding that we had this moment, and we had a connection. And he passed away a couple of years ago, and Dreams has always meant a lot to me, and it means so much more now when I hear it, because I think about my dad and that moment that we had where he got me. He understood my music, So thank you so much for that.
Listen, that's what music's for.
Yeah.
Hey,
so,
for you.
But
music has that power to transcend you and transpose you to another time and another place. And when you're in a time in your life and a certain song hits you, and every time you hear it, it takes you back to that place, or it can.
Right.
If you're in the right mood for it, if you want it, it'll do it.
All right, halfway through my countdown of my top 10 personal favorite songs ever, I've got a big one. Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Now, I'm going to share a personal experience about Comfortably Numb that centers on the heartbreak that I went through from my divorce. It's got to be the toughest video I've ever done, because these songs and these stories are so near and dear to my heart and my progression as a human being. I haven't talked about this in years, and it's hard to be vulnerable about something so personal, but here goes. Now, before I go into this, I do want to say, I've been happily married to the love of my life for 20 years. My wife and I are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, wedding anniversary. But man, I went through hell and back to get to that relationship. I was divorced. I went through a painful divorce back in 2005. This was after a 7-year first marriage. So I remember a summer morning in 2005 when, after months of worry and heartbreak and insomnia and denial and pain, it finally all caught up with me. I felt like I'd failed at what I'd been taught was the key to life. Love and marriage and forever. My ex-wife had already decided to move on with someone else. And I remember laying in bed, just paralyzed by a sickness that I could not shake. Beneath my pillow, I heard a faint sound. And when I rolled over, the news that I was dealing with, my divorce final after 7 years gone, hit me upside the head like a bulldozer. It was all over. It was done. My headphones happened to be playing a song, and it was Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Couldn't have been a more perfect song.
Is there anybody in there?
I've told you before that I listen to music as I sleep to try to help me get to sleep. I mean, I'd gone to sleep, woken up. I was just back and forth the whole night from just experiencing this news that it was finally over. The divorce was final, and it was gone. And man, those familiar chords, it soothed something raw inside of me. The fragment of those words echoed back felt like a spark that I'd forgotten. But I was allowed to keep it. As a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, but it was gone.
I turned to look, but it was gone.
I cannot put my finger on it now. The child has grown, the dream is gone. I have become comfortably numb.
The child is grown, the dream is gone.
Hearing those lines, I mean, the walls that I built around my heart began to crumble, and I cried. I cried for nearly an hour. I needed to feel, to let go, to let the hurt move through me rather than let it completely suffocate me.
There is no pain, you are receding.
And that moment underscored a strange truth for me. I mean, the song's very name, Comfortably Numb, it reads like a paradox, a balm and a shield all at once. Pink Floyd's music has a way of turning human frailty into something bearable, offering an antidote to our deepest failures and a gateway to what remains hopeful.
Have become comfortably numb.
I mean, in the wake of divorce, the track reminded me that there can be a form of healing in surrender, allowing the pain to surface and naming it and choosing to keep going, even when the future feels undefined or meaningless. One of the most intriguing components of Comfortably Numb is, of course, the alternating lead vocal by Roger Waters and David Gilmour. I mean, it was a brilliant move to bring out the personal pain that Roger Waters felt since he wrote about his real life experiences. His vocal, it was the darkness in the song. And then David Gilmour singing the chorus, that brings out the yearning for emotional relief. He's the light that cuts through that darkness.
A distant ship, smoke on the horizon.
And after all these years, I know that song saved my life in that moment. Coming in at number 4 on my top 10 favorite songs of all time, I've got More Than a Feeling by Boston. Now, More Than a Feeling, a lot of people don't know this, but it had a lot to do with Tom Scholz revealing his crush on one of his first cousins. Tom had deep feelings for her, which was a little creepy, but maybe also a little cute. And his cousin, the real Mary Ann that he wrote about, she hated him for it. Mary Ann reportedly was extremely annoyed when they ran into each other years later, and he told her that he'd written a song about her, which was based on his childhood crush on her when he was just 10. So it's really not that creepy when you think about that. It didn't matter that the song was the lead single from a blockbuster album or that he was just 10 years old, She found it totally humiliating. She was pissed. Now, I do want to share a personal moment that I had with my son, who's got autism. He was just little. He was barely learning to communicate. He centers around this song, and it's not just about the track itself, but the way it opened a doorway between us, me and my son. I remember driving around one day. He was in the back seat, came on, and I said, "Man, listen to this song. This is the real deal." I was so entertained watching his eyes light up as the guitars and the vocals kicked in. I mean, he was smiling the whole way through it, and he sang along, and he was belting out, sounds and instrumentation of the song. He just barely heard it, but it had this effect on him. Then out of nowhere, he screamed with total joy, Dad, this is way better than Imagine Dragons." And that surprised me in the best way possible. What followed from there felt almost magical. I mean, somehow a link to Tom Scholz and Brad Delp and that era of guitar-led storytelling drifted into our conversation. And the moment stopped being about the music and the song, and it became about us. The trust and the laughter that we shared in that moment. And then something really cool happened from this. And I shared this about 3 or 4 years ago in a video. And Tom Scholz actually saw the episode. And he sent this really sweet letter. And he had several autographed guitar picks in it for my son. A small tangible connection from a musician to a father and son moment.
I hide in my music, forget the day.
After that, it wasn't about fame or controversy or the backstory of the song. It became about the memory that my son and I built together. I mean, the way a favorite song can become a doorway to conversation and perspective and a little bit of wonder that will carry forward forever. More Than a Feeling was our introduction to Boston as the debut single for the band's self-titled landmark LP. It climbed to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 176. And man, every time I hear it, I'm convinced that Brad Delp is the greatest rock vocalist ever, because nobody else could have hit that perfect note like him. If you dial it down to one song, Delp is the king. At least that's what I think. What do you think? All right, we're up to number 3 on the countdown of my top 10 personal favorite songs ever. This one gets me teary-eyed every time I hear it. I've got In My Life by the Beatles.
In my life, I've loved them all.
In My Life from the Rubber Soul LP resonates with me on a deeply, deeply personal level. To me, it's a meditation on nostalgia, the people who shape us, and the enduring magnetism of love that survives time.
All my life, though some have changed.
Although the song was written by John Lennon and McCartney, this was after a journalist challenged John to write about his own life. Its truth isn't in the literal memory of places or a bus trip, but in how it frames memory as a living dialogue between the past and the present.
Some have gone and some remain.
The reflective lyrics feel like a quiet conversation that I have with my own history, even though it's not my song, but it kind of is. It belongs to all of us.
Recall, some are dead and some are living.
Man, that piano solo, played by George Martin and sped up to evoke a harpsichord, it gives the song a timeless, intimate sound that makes my own memories feel more vivid and real every time I hear it. The lyrics of In My Life about friends, they reference Stu Sutcliffe, who was an early Beatle and a close friend of John, who died in 1962, and also another friend named Pete Shotton. Lennon also drew inspiration from his Aunt Mimi and his wife Cynthia, along with other friends. It's one of the most beautiful Beatles songs, period. And John called it a little piece of artwork, and it really is. It's also one of Paul and George's favorite Beatles songs.
In my life.
It's also the song that I chose to be the main song to be played on the tribute video at my father's funeral. Every time I play it, I think of the first time that he showed it to me. I mean, after all, the Beatles were my dad's favorite band, the reason that I do what I do.
I love you more
Speaking of funerals, the next song I have is one that I hope they play at my funeral. Since this is a countdown of my personal top 10 favorites, I'm going to take a little poetic license here and name 2 Billy Joel songs at the number 2 position. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant and Where's the Orchestra?
In our Italian restaurant, where's the orchestra?
I hope you don't mind, but I want to be candid about my deep passion for Billy Joel's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant from The Stranger, and then Where's the Orchestra from The Nylon Curtain. Maybe not in that order. My wish is that they will be creatively mixed, these 2 songs together, and they'll be played at my funeral so that their shared stories and emotional arcs can intertwine as bookends of my feelings about light and darkness, my final expression of my love for music.
Near the street, in our old familiar place, wasn't this supposed to be a musical?
I mean, these 2 songs, they fit together lyrically as a crescent from intimate memory to broader reflective art. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant anchors my life in relationships and meals and shared history.
I'll meet you anytime you want.
While Where's the Orchestra shifts to commentary on fame or pseudo-fame, illusion, and the disappointments in life and the aging of ambition. That's how I feel.
How the hell could I have missed the overture?
Paired, they trace a path from warm, personal storytelling to more candid musing on what endures, the ordinary joys of connection and the quieter, more enduring value of artistry. These 2 songs really, they sum up why music has been so important to me in my life.
Good office, I got a new wife, got a new life, and the family is fine.
Now, I remember reading Chuck Klosterman's book, Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs, and he talked about his feelings on this song, and I'm not kidding here. I've felt the exact same things about this song, word for word. As he says, Where's the Orchestra uses the theater as a metaphor for loneliness.
Where's the orchestra?
Now, the lyrics are one long allusion to watching an alienating, really dissatisfying play. You know, the lyrics, I like the scenery, even though I have absolutely no idea at all what is being said despite the dialogue.
What is being said despite the dialogue?
And it doesn't take a rock critic to see it as a metaphor for the emptiness that Billy Joel feels himself. Like Chuck says, and this is exactly how I feel and why it's my favorite song. And it's the Billy Joel song that I've always related to most on a personal level. In fact, I sometimes tell people that they would understand me better if they listened to Where's the Orchestra. But then when I show it to them, they always think the song describes them and their feelings about life. And that's why Billy Joel is one of the greatest artists ever. Because when we look at him, we don't see Billy Joel. We just see ourselves.
All the innuendo and the irony.
When he sings in Piano Man, that line at the end, it's a pretty good crowd for a Saturday, and the manager gives me a smile because he knows that it's me they've been coming to see to forget about life for a while.
They've been coming to see, to forget about life for a while.
That describes what Billy Joel means to all of us. He's rock and roll's everyman. He just is.
The actors played, the point the author made.
And then skipping over to Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, it may be the greatest album track ever, ever. Every one of his fans knows it. He plays it at every show. I mean, the song's about old friendships and the passing of time, and of course, Brenda and Eddie.
Brenda and Eddie were the popular steadies.
I really want to do a full episode on Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Would you like to see that? I'll do it if you will. Let me know in the comments. Both songs have 2 of the most haunting music beds ever in them. This one from Scenes. And this one from Where's the Orchestra. In fact, the one from Where's the Orchestra, it has to be the saddest ever. For my money, the saddest song in pop history. Like I said, the song is a metaphor for using a play as a metaphor for life. And Billy Joel is talking about how this is supposed to be his big night, his introduction to the theater crowd. He's all excited.
Wasn't this supposed to be a musical?
But then after the play ends, you know, after the last lines are said and the curtain calls and the curtain falls on empty chairs, he asks the question, where's the orchestra? It's just the idea that we all get our hopes up, and inevitably it's disappointing. I know that's depressing, but anyway.
On empty chairs.
But Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, that kind of makes up for it. That's the lighter side of things if I play it at my funeral, because it talks about a bottle of red, a bottle of white, whatever mood you're in tonight.
Whatever kind of mood you're in tonight.
I'll meet you anytime you want in our Italian restaurant. And then it ends with that soaring music about intimacy and friendship and relationships are why we're in this life. Anyway, Billy Joel, he's just got such a rich texture. It's just such an incredible catalog of songs. And the critics, they hated him. They said he was horrible, and they missed it all. They missed the point. Billy Joel is just one of the greatest. I'm telling you, the saddest song ever written. All right, as you can imagine, choosing songs for personal top 10 countdown was really tough because there are so many songs that have meant so much to me at different points in my life. And actually, if I had to listen to the same song over and over again, which is a question that Colbert asks his audience or his guests sometimes, it would be a totally different song. My personal favorite song of all time is Something About You by Level 42, but I like that in a different way because that's just the song that I can listen to over and over again. It's like my favorite movies of all time. They're the movies I consider to be the movies of my life, like The Godfather and The Shawshank Redemption. And then there's just the movies that are my favorite that I can watch over and over again and never get sick of, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's the same thing with music for me. So this is kind of that list, like The Shawshank Redemption and The Godfather, songs that have made me who I am, whereas Something About You is just my favorite song of all time, one that I can listen to over and over again and never get sick of it.
In our Italian restaurant, where's the orchestra?
Having said all that, my number one song of all time that has influenced me more than anything, that really just shaped my life more than any song ever, it's an easy one. Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. Now, Bruce almost scrapped Born to Run because he was so disgusted with the original version. A turning point I've held on to as a reminder that even great art can be rescued from its worst moments. The rumor or image of him tossing the acetate into a swimming pool because he was so pissed off, he was livid when the sessions weren't coming together, feels like a moment of reckless honesty and how important the song was to the boss, a symbol of baiting fear and frustration to coax something alive out of this thing. I mean, that behind-the-scenes drama mirrors my own moments of inner turmoil and doubt that I felt, especially doing this channel, when I felt trapped by my circumstances and unsure if I could ever break free. The song could be saved from itself in the studio. Maybe I could save parts of my life, too. Born to Run became the sound of my own liberation. I'm telling you, the first time I heard Born to Run, I felt like I was busting out of prison. It was total triumph. It gave me faith. I mean, it was the moment that I started to believe that I could find out if love was real, like it says in the song. It wasn't just a song, though. It was a declaration that my feelings, my ambitions, they mattered. The truth mattered enough to be set free. The music's urgency, the roar of the guitars and Springsteen's vision of road and risk and renewal, it spoke directly to me, as if a louder voice were telling me to move towards something bolder, something true. In this liberating roar, I found permission to chase my own ambition, my own dreams, to admit what I wanted, and to trust that the pursuit itself was worth the risk. Born to Run was Bruce Springsteen's all-or-nothing gamble, a last push to save a stalled career. I mean, his previous albums had underperformed and left his label considering dropping him. Even as a glowing reviewer labeled him rock and roll's future. But in the end, the decision to persevere paid off. It redefined his path and secured his place in rock history. But it also gave a young kid, a young boy in a small town called Blackfoot, Idaho, a sense of purpose that I will be eternally grateful for. I mean, with Born to Run, Bruce said it was his shot at the title, that he was a 24-year-old kid aiming at the greatest rock and roll record ever. In my opinion, he hit the bullseye. Born to Run was Bruce Springsteen's first charted hit. It peaked at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. And I still can't get through it without shedding a tear for all the joy and the triumphs that that music holds. I don't think I'm the only one. Born to Run, it's about triumph. It's about connection. It's about belief in something bigger than yourself. Ah, that last chorus, it gets me every single time. Tramps, someday we're going to walk in the sun. I've told my wife that for so many years. It's a promise I made her on our wedding day. I sang this at our wedding. I sang an acoustic version of Born to Run, if you can believe that. It's a promise I made to her. It's a promise I made to myself all those years ago when I was just a little kid and I rode my bike down to B&J Market where they had little cassettes, and I bought that cassette and I listened to it, and I felt like I was lifted with my bicycle into the air, and I made that promise to myself that I would always believe. And the music is what matters, and that music, Born to Run, God Only Knows, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Comfortably Numb. These are the songs that they just shaped me. They made me who I am. And I'm so grateful that I got a chance to do this. Really risky sometimes to share personal things like that, but I hope you'll enjoy it. Those are my top 10. What are your top 10 songs of all time that have made you who you are, the reason that you're living and breathing? I want to know this. Let me know in the comments below. Please share this. I would love for some of this joy and the joy that I felt that the music has brought me to bring to other people. That's why I do what I do. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, truly today, I mean this. I've always meant it, but I mean it especially today. 3 chords and the truth, my friends.